We are tracking the conditions across the Northeast, and we'll have the latest forecast in a moment. Let's start with NBC News correspondent Valerie Castro joining us now from Long Branch, New Jersey. Valerie, I think that's you. Kind of hard to see with all the snowy conditions there. Walk us through the conditions. What are you seeing there right now? How are you doing?
Joe, I have to tell you, the wind just picked up within the last 30 seconds or so. We were out here for a few minutes earlier and it was manageable, but the winds have really picked up in just the last few minutes. I'll try and walk along here along the boardwalk. We were here last night and everything looked very different, but now as you can see, there is blowing snow. The waves offshore are monstrous compared to what we saw last night. The wind's obviously a big concern with this storm. Gusts of up to 40 miles per hour reported inland, but we could be seeing gusts of up to 60 here along the shore. Here in Monmouth County, the sheriff says power outages, of course, are of a big concern when it comes to wind and all of this heavy snow. There are already 25,000 customers without power in this area, and things are only expected to continue to get worse. It's been difficult for us to get a sense of how much snow has fallen here in Long Branch just because of the wind and all of these snow drifts. But Freehold, New Jersey, just west of where I am, Joe, they've already reported 19 inches of snow this morning. Those totals only expected to go up from here.
Valerie, it's just incredible not to just see the wind and snow where you're standing, but when the shot zooms out to see those giant waves crashing behind you. We know a lot of people lost power because of this wind. Nearly 300,000 utility customers across the Northeast last night. That number almost certain to climb. Several states declaring states of emergency, putting those travel bans in place. Just big picture, how have communities across the Northeast prepared for this, knowing we still have a few hours to go?
Yeah, Joe, I think early on we knew this was going to be a big storm, right? So many communities put out the warning to stay home, to hunker down, to shelter in place. Communities up and down the seaboard have prepared equipment. They prepared salt trucks. Here in Monmouth County, they have 10,000 pounds of salt ready to go. Some hospitals were having staff actually spend the night last night so they could be in place for today and not have to travel through all of this wind, this snow. As you mentioned, a lot of travel bans. Roads are closed down the shore where there are some flooding concerns. And those travel bans, New York City implemented that travel ban last night at 9 p.m. That will remain in place until noon today. New Jersey has a travel ban until 7 a.m. this morning. So really just trying to get everyone to stay home and hunker down to prevent any issues today.
Hey,
Joe?
Valerie, as far as you can tell, are people heeding that advice where you are there?
So far this morning, yes. Yesterday, when the storm started to really ramp up, we did see a few people out jogging. Jersey Shore people are diehards. They will go out in any kind of weather. But so far this morning, we have not seen anyone. But I imagine we will probably see some people throughout the morning because, as you mentioned, the waves are massive and just so impressive to come out and look at.
It is an incredible sight, but you got to keep in mind it is dangerous. Valerie, we appreciate you braving these conditions. Please continue to stay safe out there. Let's bring in WNBC weather anchor Dave Price. He's in New York City. Little quieter, no crashing waves behind him, but still, we're seeing a lot of just strong conditions here with this blizzard here in New York. Dave, describe what you're seeing in the city here.
Well, Joe, I'll describe it and show you the pictures as well. Quite a sight as we wake up here in Queens. We're right around Long Island City at this point, and the streets are just loaded with snow. Now, keep in mind, that's not an indictment of our sanitation department. We're seeing snowfall rates at some points of upwards of 2 inches an hour. It's just hard to stay ahead of all of this, and that's why sidewalks, roadways, no matter where you turn here in the city, it's a slow and dangerous go. One of the reasons, of course, the mayor has imposed, a traffic stop pretty much for those who are not traveling with essential travel plans. So that's the situation. A couple of intrepid travelers trying to take our subway system. We're right now at a 7 subway stop here in Queens.
Tell us, Dave, because, I mean, I basically stayed in a hotel just a couple blocks from here, and that 2-block walk was hard enough for me with the wind blowing in my face and the snow blowing in my face. We know Mayor Mamdani announced an official snow day, not even remote learning. What have you seen? What's it like just trying to get around right now? Are you seeing many people trying to do that, or are people heeding the travel ban?
Well, let me set the scene. We have a temperature in the lower 30s, below the freezing mark. It feels like it's 7 degrees, and we have gusts right here in the Long Island City area, gusting up to 45 miles per hour. Bands of heavy snow beginning to roll on in. Yeah, we do see some intrepid travelers getting from here to there. Remember, this is a city with 19,000 lane miles to plow, upwards of 13,000 miles in sidewalks, 2,000 miles in pathways in our parks. So there is a massive effort required to keep things clean and passable. And that's why this morning it's only a few people we see using our subway system. The buses are running, but everything is slower than normal. And the best advice anyone can give, which the mayor did yesterday, is stay home.
Dave, you've been covering weather in this region for a long time. Put this into context for us. How big of a deal is this storm compared with what we've seen in recent years?
Well, of course, you know, we had that massive record-setting storm back in 2016. But this combination of near or actual blizzard conditions where you've seen visibility down, gale force winds kicking up, and the sheer amount of snow will put this in the record books, no doubt. Coney Island, already 16 inches of snow, Joe, and we're not done yet. Remember, this storm shouldn't begin to wrap up until we hit the noon hour or later. And at that point, we could be seeing several parts of our region, New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut, with upwards of 2 feet of snow. And then the cleanup.
And that will not be a one-day event. That's going to take some time here. Dave Price, we appreciate your reporting out there. Continue to stay safe. Let's get a closer look at some of the numbers and the storm, which is really delivering on this forecast. Time for your morning news now weather with meteorologist Andrea Romero. Andrea, first of all, congrats on getting in this morning. What can you tell us about what we can expect as the morning and the day goes on?
Well, this system is definitely still ramping up along the East Coast, and we can see this band of snow that continues to fall all the way from the mid-Atlantic, from parts of Maryland all the way into New England. And right now in New York City, we're probably seeing the worst of the storm at this moment with those heavy bands of precipitation. And we do have over 69 million people that are impacted by these winter weather alerts across the whole East Coast, extending even up to parts near the Great Lakes. We're looking at blizzard criteria that's being met all the way from Ocean City up into Bar Harbor. And that, of course, is wind gusts of up to 35 miles per hour or higher, heavy snow that reduces the visibility up to a quarter of a mile. And both these conditions have to last for 3 hours or more. And we're seeing precisely all this happening, looking at the damaging winds that we're looking at right now. Gusts of up to 47 miles per hour in West Hampton Beach, 60 miles per hour in Block Island, here in Martha's Vineyard, close to 60 miles per hour. So we're talking about tree damages. We're talking about power outages and near zero visibility due to that blowing snow. So the conditions are dangerous. The snow totals for the last 24 hours, 20 inches already in Islip, 19 inches in Freehold, New Jersey. We have here 9.3 in Central Park, but that's going to be a lot higher, 9.9 in New Haven and Philadelphia. We're looking at 6.5, and we're still expecting more snow. So the timing of this system right now in Philadelphia, the heavy snow is starting to wind down a little bit, and we're expecting lighter snow and breezy conditions through the early afternoon. In New York, I said it, the heavy snow, the strong gusty winds are happening this morning, and then the snow will begin to taper off and end after 3, 4 o'clock. But we're still going to have that blowing snow because the winds will still continue to move around that area. In Hartford, the heaviest snow will be moving through 11 a.m. and then lighter snow and windy conditions. And of course, Boston, the blizzard conditions are happening right now. They will continue through 1 o'clock, and then through this evening, the snow will continue, but the winds will still maintain their force in those areas. Now, additional snowfall totals, we're still looking at over a foot in here from Nantucket to Boston. Here in the city, maybe 3 to 6 more inches can fall. And then the coastal flood alerts, that's the other factor. We're dealing with that coastal flooding, minor flooding to moderate flooding in this morning hours. Right now, we're looking at especially over here in parts of Massachusetts. So it's all these factors that are are continuing to impact that region. And of course, we're dealing with the cold temperatures that will persist throughout the day. And of course, we'll be monitoring the conditions, and we'll bring you an update later on in the newscast. But for now, we turn it back to you.
Yeah, we'll keep people updated throughout the morning here. But what's fascinating, when we look at the numbers of those snow totals, including Central Park, those numbers don't come instantly. Like that was from like 1 in the morning when it was 9 inches. So we know those numbers are going to go up as we go throughout the morning. Andrea, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Some other news now. There were frightening moments outside President Trump's Florida estate over the weekend. Secret Service agents and a sheriff's deputy shot and killed an armed intruder at Mar-a-Lago early Sunday. Officials say agents confronted a man inside the secure perimeter of the estate around 1:30 a.m. They say he was carrying a shotgun and a gas canister.
He was ordered to drop those 2 pieces of equipment that he had with him, at which time he put down the gas can, raised the shotgun to a shooting position. At that point in time, the deputy and the 2 Secret Service agents fired their weapons and neutralized the threat. He is deceased at the scene.
2 law enforcement officials tell NBC News the suspect has been identified as Austin Tucker Martin, a 21-year-old man from Moore County, North Carolina. It's important to note President Trump was at the White House, not Mar-a-Lago, when this breach happened. For more, let's bring in NBC News political reporter Megan Leibowitz, also joined by our law enforcement analyst, former Secret Service agent Evie Pompouris. Good morning to both of you. Megan, first of all, just what more are we learning about the suspect and the incident?
Yeah, so this incident took place overnight yesterday when it unfolded when a sheriff's office deputy and 2 Secret Service agents went to investigate when security had detected that someone had breached this secure perimeter at Mar-a-Lago. Now, as you heard from the Palm Beach County Sheriff, they confronted a man who had what they described as a fuel can and a gun, ordered him to drop it, but he instead raised the gun allegedly to a shooting position, and that's when law enforcement shot and killed him. Now, in terms of what we know about the suspect, there's still a lot of questions that we have. Law enforcement have not officially identified the suspect, but as you mentioned, 2 law enforcement sources told NBC that the person killed was a 21-year-old man named Austin Tucker Martin from North Carolina. Now, a man with the name Tucker Austin Martin was reported missing. That's according to a social media post from his mother over the weekend. Now, reached for comment. Local police declined to comment on whether this person was still considered to be a missing person here.
Evie, let's bring you in here, keeping in mind the president wasn't there at the time, but still, what do you make of the fact that someone was able to make it inside of the secure perimeter of the grounds with a shotgun and with that gas canister?
Right, so they're going to look at how that person gained entry and also how he got there. Did he drive there, which is very highly likely, especially if you're carrying those items. When the president is in-house somewhere, right, on site, you're definitely going to see a very ramped-up security system put in place. But I do think the security system that they have here worked, right? You've got your perimeter, you've got your post standards, you've got your tech, there's different technology in place. So they're alerted, somebody's crossed into my perimeter, and they immediately respond. From what we know, according to the press conference, this happened at that North Gate entry point, and that's where that individual came in. So the whole point is that they stopped him as he entered that inner perimeter and then engaged the threat.
All right, Megan, law enforcement will, of course, try to figure out a motive, if this was an assassination attempt or what it was. Where does that part of the investigation stand as far as we know? And have we heard anything from the White House about all this?
Yeah, so big picture here, there's still a lot of unknowns and still a lot of questions that we're going to be asking about in the coming days here. Now, Secret Service had said in a statement that the individual's background, their actions, potential motives, as well as the use of force here, those are all going to be under investigation right now by the FBI, the Secret Service, and the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office. Now, we were starting to hear from White House officials as well yesterday, people like White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, who expressed gratitude for law enforcement's actions and response to keep people safe. We also heard from FBI Director Kash Patel, who said in a post to X that the FBI is dedicating all necessary resources to the investigation. But these are certainly questions that we're going to be continuing to ask in the days to come, and waiting to hear more from the president's response to all of this, Joe.
Okay, and Evie, I mean, we know President Trump faced 2 assassination attempts during the 2024 campaign. One was not too far from where this occurred. That man tried to assassinate Mr. Trump while he was playing golf. He was just convicted. And then we had, of course, the campaign rally in Pennsylvania. So with all of that in mind, just how do you describe this threat environment we're living in right now when it comes to political figures and the stress on the people who have to protect those people?
It's a mess. It's a mess. Like, it's just, you don't even know. Everybody's head swiveling because it's not just the president. Usually you always word for these high threat value targets, right? But now it's members of Congress, it's VIPs, it's people who are out there speaking. I mean, I feel like every couple of weeks you and I are talking about who was shot at this time. So I think we see a prolific rise. There's 2 things. I'm gonna blame 2 things.
Okay.
One is going to be the rhetoric of everybody. Everybody. Social media has given everybody a platform to say whatever. And I think that what we've seen is, as human beings, we don't know how to think and control what we write, because what we write manifests. Somebody else is going to read it. And not everybody has the presence of mind to understand, hey, I shouldn't do these things. When we assess threats in the U.S. Secret Service, because they would come in, and typically it would be, I'd write it in, I'd call it in, I'd show up. Right? And so, but now with social media, you're looking at thousands and thousands and thousands of people. But at that point, you would also deal with a lot of individuals who are either young, he's about 21, not in steady mental health, right? And unstable. And so there's a population of people who, when they absorb this stuff, they don't behave, they don't process the right way, and they act out. And so I think sometimes it gets lost on individuals when they're out there saying certain things.
And it's a reminder to anyone who, if they see something that's odd about someone's behavior or something they're saying, it is important to try and flag that, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Evie and Megan, thank you both. Appreciate your reporting and analysis on this. We want to bring you an update from Arizona, where the search for Nancy Guthrie is entering its 4th week. The mother of our NBC News colleague Savannah Guthrie was abducted on February 1st. Detectives and law enforcement agents returned to Nancy's neighborhood over the weekend to canvass the area. Officials tell NBC News multiple gloves have been collected and sent for DNA analysis. Investigators are still working to identify that masked man seen on surveillance camera the night that Nancy disappeared. And on Sunday, a volunteer search group gathered to try to help find her.
If this were my mom, I would want people helping me look for her. So I'm doing this in honor of my mom and for Nancy and the Guthrie family.
Yesterday, the Arizona Attorney General, who is not directly involved in the investigation, said she does not consider this a cold case. She added she has faith in the FBI and the Pima County Sheriff's Department. President Trump's economic agenda is clouded in uncertainty as we enter a new week. In a major ruling Friday, the Supreme Court struck down his sweeping trade tariffs. Starting Tuesday, the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency will stop collecting tariffs that were imposed under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act. That's because the court declared those duties illegal. A furious President Trump blasted the court's decision Friday, quickly announcing a 10% global tariff using a different legal authority. Then on Saturday, the president raised that to 15%. Here's more of his reaction to that decision.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing, and I'm ashamed of certain members of the court. But other alternatives will now be used to replace the ones that the court incorrectly rejected. We have alternatives, great alternatives. Could be more money. We'll take in more money, and we'll be a lot stronger for it.
For more on this, we are joined now by Caleb Silver. He's Investopedia's editor-in-chief and the chief business editor of People Inc. Caleb, good to have you with us to break this one down. It's another twist in this pretty much year-long back-and-forth tariff saga. So this ruling by the Supreme Court and then the president's weekend response, does it give us more economic clarity or less?
A lot less and a lot more uncertainty for small businesses, for importers, but also for consumers who have maybe gotten used to what the new normal of tariffs would be. Now, there is no new normal. The president, again, raising that from 10% to 15% on the tariffs that are already in place through other means. That's Section 232 of the Trade Expansion Act. That's things like copper. That's things like lumber, timber, steel, autos and auto parts, and even some drugs and some other imports we get from countries like China and Mexico. So more uncertainty for consumers, more uncertainty for businesses, and the president saying he could raise it even more and do terrible things to some of these countries.
A bigger picture, could this potentially be good news for consumers and businesses, or is it just simply too early to tell?
It's early to tell, but that said, the Supreme Court striking down a lot of those reciprocal tariffs does make a difference. The Yale Budget Lab and the P. Peterson Institute and others had estimated that U.S. consumers and households were paying over $1,000 because of the tariffs that were put in place, those reciprocal tariffs. That number comes down a little bit for the time being, maybe $800 to $900 per family, but we still have tariffs, additional tariffs. I mentioned some of those on Section 232, and then there are the tariffs on Section 301 with countries that the United States has a trade disagreement with, and that is namely China, and that is everything from machine parts to industrial equipment to chemicals and other imports we get from China. So this is not over by any means, and it's going to be a lot more confusing, especially over the next 150 days. The Congress has to actually vote to extend these additional 15% tariffs the president announced on Saturday.
When we also talk about uncertainty, we're thinking about these refunds. Do businesses, you think, are they going to be pushing for these refunds? If that happens, how big of a bill could that be for the government?
Yeah, around $130 billion or so, but it's going to be very hard to get that done. The Supreme Court did not rule on whether or not the businesses that were part of the lawsuit, and over 1,000 businesses sued the White House because of these tariffs, will get their money. They push that to the lower courts. That's going to take a long time to figure out. And then who gets what, how do they get those dollars that they put out because of those tariffs? Who gets paid, who doesn't? It's going to be very confusing for a very long time, and this is not over by any means.
So let's talk about Wall Street reaction. What did we see in the markets on Friday, and what are we expecting today and this week?
Yeah, a little relief rally on Friday once the Supreme Court ruled against those tariffs in that 6-3 ruling. Today, stocks are under pressure, probably because of the president's reaction, and we know that it could get worse from here. He said 10% on Friday, and then he went to 15% on Saturday. It's Monday morning. It's only 7:20 a.m. here on the East Coast. We could see higher numbers as the day goes on and as the week goes on.
All right, Caleb Silver, good to have you with us. Thank you. The 2026 Milan Cortina Olympics are officially, as they say in Italy, finito. Team USA closed out this historic Winter Olympic run with 33 total medals. That includes a record 12 gold medals. That lucky dozen, the most gold medals won by the U.S. in a single Winter Games. Perhaps none of those was sweeter than the men's hockey team grabbing gold in that thrilling 2-1 overtime win over Team Canada yesterday. Maybe it wasn't a miracle, but it sure was heart-pounding. The first gold medal for Team USA in men's hockey since that iconic Lake Placid win back in 1980, 46 years ago to the day. Yesterday's closing ceremony put the Winter Games on ice for another 4 years. The president of the International Olympic Committee handed over the Olympic flag to representatives from France, who will host the next Winter Games in 2030. About 1,500 athletes were there for the beautiful closing ceremony, which took place in Verona inside an ancient Roman Colosseum. NBC News International correspondent Claudio Lavanga is live in Milan with a full recap of this historic Winter Games. Claudio, good to have you with us again. So before the closing ceremony on Sunday, it was Team USA adding to that gold medal tally with another nail-biting win by the men's hockey team over Canada. Yeah. It was pretty much a carbon copy of the women's victory over our neighbors to the north. Walk us through the highlights of the win and tell us about Jack Hughes, who traded those 3 teeth for a gold medal and for eternal adoration from hockey fans.
Absolutely. Joe, well, forget the thriller in Manila. That was the thriller in Milano. Well, it's almost an acronym. You only have one vowel that is different. But I think that it will be remembered like that because it was such a thriller. In the end, as you mentioned, Jack Hughes scored the winning goal, becoming a national hero forever. And I think that there is no more iconic photo of these Winter Olympics, of course, when it comes to Team USA, than Jack Hughes wrapped in that stars and stripes with that wide open mouth, blooded, with those missing teeth which he lost taking a high stick during the game. But of course, you know, extremely happy with it. He could lose all of the teeth and will still be happy. But in the end, he could even, you know, maybe replace one of them with a gold tooth, and he will deserve it for the next 4 years or maybe in eternity, as you said. But he's not the only hero of the night, of course. The goalkeeper was amazing. I mean, you know, Connor Hallebuck, he saved 41 shots, one of which, I mean, to my opinion, it was defying gravity. I don't even know how he caught that one. And as you said, you know, they have many more reasons to celebrate. Team USA as a whole, 33 medals, never so many apart outside of North America, apart from Vancouver and Salt Lake City, and also a record number of gold medals. 12.
And it ended on a good note. It felt like the last few days between Alyssa Liu and both the men's and women's hockey teams, it was really a great finish for Team USA. Let's talk about the closing ceremony. About 12,000 spectators were there. The theme was beauty in action. What were some of the top moments from this?
Well, I think the highlight, to be honest, was the location itself. You know, this was the Arena di Verona. It's an ancient Roman amphitheater. It's almost 2,000 years old. Gladiators used to fight in there, and it is still being used this time for opera. And, of course, throughout the ceremony, there was a lot of opera. There was a lot of ballet. My highlight was Roberto Bolle, who is a great ballet dancer here from Italy, that wowed the audiences. But also, I mean, this was... Perhaps another highlight was the handover ceremony from Italy to France, because, of course, the next Winter Olympics will take place in 4 years in France, which is, by the way, just across those mountains. You can see them now. It's a bit foggy. But the mountains are there, and right behind there, it's France. It's not going to be too far from here. So my message to France is bon chance. Good luck.
Very good. Yeah, we don't have to travel too far for that one in 4 more years. Claudio, you've been covering these games since they were announced. Just what are your thoughts as they draw to a close?
Well, to be honest, Joe, I think what I learned, I want to take away from this Winter Olympics is a reassuring thought that this is not just about sports. It was so heartwarming to see people from all over the world sporting, showing with pride their national colors, all being together, coexisting peacefully. And that is a reassuring sight for journalists like us. Of course, we need to talk about wars and aggression every single day, while here you had people from all over the world celebrating their win, accepting gracefully when they didn't. So hopefully, you know, this will be a lesson for the rest of the world as well.
No kidding. We got to be witnesses to the best of us over these past couple of weeks. Claudio, we appreciate all your coverage. Yeah. Thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.